Hi, everybody. Welcome to Nurse Chats. My name is Sarah, and I'm your host. Unfortunately, Brittany is not here today, but we're going to talk about a lot of tea that's going on in the nursing world. So I just want to start off with the article that was published by CNN on May 1st that said career satisfaction in nursing is around 71%, and it drops another 10% when you look beyond baby boomers at Gen Z and Gen X. So basically, the only people that are satisfied in their careers are the older nurses. The younger nurses are not satisfied. It's about 63%, I believe, that are not satisfied and planning to leave. Only 15% of hospital nurses want to continue in their current job. 15%. Can I even tell you how catastrophic that is? So if you consider the fact that we're already short-staffed, and so we're 1 to 3 people short every shift. If you take 15% of that, which is 1 to 2 people, that's like insane. So only 1 to 2 people out of our entire staff are planning to stay in nursing. Catastrophic. It also talks about the new level of incivility, which I'm sad to say is very true. I've seen it in the last 3 years that I've been a nurse. It is getting worse. People are terrible. We do have security where I work. Sometimes money isn't everything. And but I've seen a lot. I've seen people back off patients because of the level of anger. It's terrifying sometimes, and I get scared. I get scared in the ER sometimes just because of the level of violence that exists. Here's some more stats. 40% are burnout. 4 out of 5 are experiencing stress that is difficult to live with. A third gets to spend the amount of time they need to spend with a patient. 1/3 of nurses in the U.S. get to spend the amount of time they need with a patient. That is crazy for so many reasons. 64% are satisfied with their care, but again, just because you're giving care doesn't mean you're catching everything, because you don't have the time to spend with everybody. So there's so much to unpack in this article. I mean, if you talk about career satisfaction and only 15% of the nurses that want to stay in hospital nursing care, that is crazy. I can't even imagine what is going to happen. I am kind of scared of what's going to happen because I feel like we're heading down a road that we're not going to recover from. And with the level of, litigiousness that exists in the healthcare profession right now, I mean, they're suing nurses for making mistakes, but they don't have the staff to support good care. So we're being penalized because we don't have enough help, is basically what is happening. If nurses had enough time to spend with their patients, they would get the care. I mean, despite the cases of, medical malpractice where they're not doing their job. But I mean, most nurses, I'm sorry to say, are good nurses that I know. I do know bad nurses, but that said, they would not try to kill somebody, and they're just burnt out. So we're getting sued, we're getting arrested for not having the help that we need. When do we start being accountable for the stress that the healthcare industry is putting on nurses as a whole? And I'm not blaming the hospitals for this. I do truly believe the hospitals are doing the best they can. But in an atmosphere where nobody wants to work inpatient, it's not going to be great in a couple years, and now they're arresting us and not taking responsibility for that. So my question is, when does this all stop? This is like a serious merry-go-round, right? This is not a good scenario for healthcare. We're going to continue to get shorter. There's going to continue to be more mistakes. They're going to start prosecuting nurses, and then nurses are going to leave the field because they don't feel safe to deliver the care that they need to deliver in order for people to live. And we are talking about life and death here, especially in some cases. So you're talking about a scenario where the only thing we can do is protect ourselves by leaving the career field. I am astounded at the stats in this article. It was published on CNN on May 1st, written by Jen Christensen, and it's titled "A Crisis in Nursing is Upon Us. Nursing Survey Shows Even After the Pandemic." I mean, first of all, it fascinates me that everybody's so surprised by this, right? Like, because we know it's happening. I mean, I guess being on the front line is way different than reading it from afar, but oh my gosh, like these stats are not what I expected. So check out that article on CNN. Leave us your feedback. I'm going to put this up on YouTube under Nurse Chats, and please comment on your feeling about the way that healthcare industry is responding to this current staffing crisis. I mean, we have to do something, or all of the nurses are going to leave. And if you think that nurses don't do anything, then I just feel sorry for you, because one, you don't understand the way that healthcare works. But we have to do something. And I think it's reaching critical mass. I mean, we saw the strikes in the UK. Strikes are everywhere right now, and people are wanting to form unions, which also not the answer. But I don't really believe in unions. However, because there are issues that go along with unions, right? It's harder to fire somebody that's not working. There's a lot of issues that go along with it. So unions aren't always the answer. However, when you get a hospital administration that's not willing to work with the nurses and the caregivers, that is also a problem. We need to stop paying our CEOs millions and millions of dollars and start concentrating on the nursing profession. We need to change the culture now before it gets so bad that we cannot come back. And we are fast reaching that. I know so many nurses that are trying to leave the profession right now. I am not one of them. In fact, me and my business partners, Emily and Brittany, love nursing. We want to stay in nursing. I think there needs to be more positivity about the good things that happen in nursing. However, you cannot blame these poor nurses that are just exhausted, burnt out, getting abused daily. Every time I work, I get abused by at least one patient. I mean, it is unreal. And I have a pretty good state of mind about it, but, healthcare is one of the highest suicide rates there are, because we just can't deal with everything. And people need to understand that and be nice to your healthcare workers. I get it's not always perfect. I do. I get that. I get that it's not always perfect. I get that there are bad nurses out there, but a lot of nurses try. A lot of them try. A lot of doctors try. A lot of PAs try. They deal with impossible situations daily, and they do their best for the most part. I'm not saying that there are not people that do not need to be called out. There are. But really think about whether the one that's taking care of you is one of those people, because they may be in an ER, they may be overstressed. You may have a nurse on a floor that has a patient assignment of 8 people, all require full care and no tech. And yes, you may have to wait. And that is the reality of the situation we're in. But nurses tend to think critically, and they tend to take care of the most critical patient first. We're not always sitting around playing cards. So I am just challenging the public to see nursing in a new way, because I am telling you, what I have seen in the last 3 years would make people cry. It would make people cry to think that there are people that have to go to work and get paid to do a job in which they are not appreciated, they are overworked, overstressed, and then on top of that, being abused by the general public because they're not getting what they want. And nursing is not about getting what you want. You don't get to go into an ER and exclaim that this is what you want from healthcare. That is not the reality that we live in. They are there to save your lives. They are there to help make you healthy. The decisions are based on that. Doctors make the best decisions they can. And I have to admit, when I first got into healthcare, I was like, okay, I was expecting to not get along with doctors. And I don't know why. I think nursing school kind of set me up for that, right? Like nursing school was like, there are some doctors that, are a pain in the ass. And there truly are doctors that do not have a great bedside manner. But this is what I will say to you. Bedside manner does not predict the level of care. I would rather any day have a doctor with a poor bedside manner that is great at his job than one that is bad at his job and kisses my ass. So get over it. Get over it. If you're a patient going to a hospital, try to understand from the perspective of the healthcare workers that work there that it is not perfect right now. And we are doing the best that we can for the most part. Minus the people that are full on breaking healthcare codes and things like that. I have seen nursing homes that have had major issues with this, and I'm going to talk about one of those, right? So what is up with Florida? I do not get it. Okay, so in Florida, a nursing assistant stole a patient's identity to get a cosmetic procedure. So what she did, apparently she was working with this Alzheimer patient. The patient was 88 years old, right? She started a credit card in her name and then got a cosmetic procedure. That is so not okay. You cannot take advantage of your patients like that. In that case, do I think she should go to jail? Absolutely. She literally stole from a patient. I don't know what's up with Florida lately, but I think we need to take a closer look at that state because there is some shady stuff going on in Florida. From the whole institute and getting your diploma after paying $15,000 and now this. People are stealing. There was another story out of Florida, and I don't know where it is. I don't have it written down, but there was another story in Florida where a coworker shot her other coworker because they were romantic rivals. What is going on in Florida? I think we need to ask this question. Florida is kind of off the maps right now. I just feel like there's just crazy stuff going on down there. Anyway, so we're going to also talk about the fact that the Philadelphia Inquirer reported that the tax credit for teachers and nurses may not pass. And yeah, I'm not okay with that. I am not the kind of person that thinks that I should get a special break because of anything. But in this case, in nursing, yeah, I think we deserve it. I think teachers deserve it. We're dealing with violence of epic levels right now. And you should support your nurses. You should support your nurses. Everybody in this country should support their nurses. And giving them a tax credit, yeah, I absolutely think that's necessary. So, I don't know. So, also, another treatment facility closed in Philly. And, this is also happening. So, we have hospitals closing. We have facilities closing. A small part of that is due to CEO salaries, okay? I know that that's the big thing everybody picks on. They're like, but they paid this CEO $2 million. Well, okay. But that is not the crux of the issue here. So when one facility closes, that all those patients go to another facility, right? We've seen that with Brandywine majorly in this area, right? If you look at some of the hospitals in the surrounding areas and the fact that their volume just increased and we just have more and more facilities closing, not to mention that everybody uses the ER as their personal urgent care now, which when I was young, I never went to urgent care for a headache. I never went to the hospital for a headache. I took Tylenol. That does not happen now. But not only that, now we have no psych facilities, so the psych facility people are coming to the hospitals and tying up rooms for people that are having medical emergencies, and we can't get them anywhere because we have no psych facilities to send them to, so they stay in the ER, and around and around and around we go. If I could only talk about all the problems that healthcare has right now, this is one of them. We need to open psych facilities. You may not believe it, and I know that I'm not saying the treatment that happened in the 70s to psych patients was good. We need to have standardized facilities. One, because people are safe there. You put these people out into the community, they don't know how to act, they don't have a home, and a lot of these people were displaced when they closed all these facilities down, and now the general healthcare system is dealing with these patients that they're not prepared to deal with. I'm not a psych nurse. I'm an ER nurse. Med-surg nurse is not a psych nurse. They're a med-surg nurse. ICU nurses are not psych nurses. I mean, we all have our specialties, but what's happening is we are overflowing the ERs. We are overflowing the hospitals with psych patients of all ages, and we have nowhere to send them because they're either full, they're closed, or they suck, right? That's where we are. So it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I feel like we need to kind of address all these things. My phone keeps going off. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to try to address it anymore because it's just going to ding in the background sometimes. So that's kind of where we are with nursing news this week. And I feel like, we keep saying the same things over and over because the same problems are still existing and we are not solving them. So we need to think of concrete ways. And you know what? I'm going to say one thing. This generation of nurses coming in, the younger generation, this generation has solved a lot of issues. They got rid of freaking big laundry jugs. They're reducing plastic. They're getting rid of plastic bags. They are creating products that are sustainable and healthy for the environment. If anybody has a chance to change nursing, it is this generation of nurses. And this is no shade to older generations. It's not. I mean, where I work, people don't treat people like that usually, but there is no shade here. We work the best we can in whatever situation we have to adapt to. But this generation of nurses, I feel like, could actually change things because they need to and they want to. So support new nurses is my bottom line here. You need to support them because we need to change healthcare and we need to do it together. This is not a one-person show. This is not administration versus nursing. I mean, I know it feels that way sometimes, but it is not. We all have to be involved. Administration has to support their nurses, and nurses have to support their administration. And they need to call it out when it's not right. And we need to fix it. We need to come up with good ideas to fix nursing right now because we are in a really bad way. And I do not even feel bad for saying that because I don't feel like it's anybody's fault, right? COVID had a part in this, but the toxic environment that existed before COVID was still a problem, and it was going to blow up eventually. It was going to blow up eventually. I will say it. You cannot have somebody go to work and want to cry every day because they did a job. You just can't. That has to change. We have to support new people. We have to teach them and say, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I may only have 3 years of experience, but I am sure that there is something I can show you that I've learned in that 3 years. Be nice to people. Be kind. We need kindness. We do. Absolutely need it. And that's going to wrap up this segment, and I will be back. I am back, and I'm going to so there is going to be many, many spoiler alerts here. I'm going to review The Nurse, which is on Netflix. And I watched it this week, and I am kind of here and there about TV nursing. I do feel like some shows really get it right. I feel like some shows just don't get it right. I don't know. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But this miniseries, it's a limited miniseries, which is on Netflix, is based on a true story, a true nurse murder story, right? So this movie was based on the crimes of a woman named Christina Astrup Hansen, who lived in Denmark, and she killed patients using morphine and diazepam. And, according to the movie, there's probably a limitless number of patients she killed. I don't think they really know. And based on the movie, it kind of seemed like there were a lot more that she didn't get charged for. But what she did get charged for was the murder of 3 patients and the attempted murder of a 4th. Her coworker, who was a nurse, started noticing that these things were happening, which the administration, which in most cases is true, was aware of the behavior issue, but did not prosecute or did not. She was very well liked, this nurse, apparently, and she was like super nurse, right? The scary thing about this is I know so many people in the ER that kind of fit that thing where they're into the drama, they're into saving people and the emergencies, and it's kind of crazy just to see the different personalities. So I did think they did a great job casting this show. It was a little slow to start out, and given that it's only 3 or 4 episodes, I don't know that they could afford to be slow for the first episode, but it did pick up like by the second episode. It was a compelling story, right? I mean, there were so many things wrong. I can't even go into it. Like the fact that she had access to the med room and they didn't document anything. Like that to me was crazy. And only nurses had access to the med room, which I think is kind of normal. I feel like only nurses have access to our med rooms in the hospitals, but I mean, people go in there all the time. The pharmacy techs, a lot of people, and they track everything nowadays, of course. But they did not track this in this particular movie. It was good. I thought the setup was slow. I thought that it was a really satisfying ending. I think they added a lot of drama to it to make it seem like it was very, building up to this kind of crescendo of acts that happened in one day with these 4 patients, which I don't know how true that is. I do know that it's a true story and based on facts, and she was found guilty. And apparently then also poisoned her daughter with high doses of powerful sleeping medication. So obviously things going on with this person in life, right? But she was diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder. In the end, I think she's due to get out soon. She did lose her nursing license, obviously, and not going to be able to do that again. But, it was a good story. Was it my favorite nursing murder mystery? Probably not. I can think of other shows I liked a lot more than this one. But that said, it was still a good show. I'd watch it if I were you, just because of the story behind it. But yeah, so we're going to move on to our topic of the day. So I wanted to start today's topic by talking about a little bit what we do and the subject of side gigs and multi-level marketing. I know there's a lot of that going on in nursing. I feel like every nurse has like a side thing they do. Probably because we don't get paid enough and we need a creative outlet for the hell that we go through every day. But Brittany started a group called Nurse Network, and it's on Facebook. You can check it out. We have like 200 members or something. Also check out Philadelphia Regional Nurses if you're in Philadelphia. But it basically is like a gathering of nurses that own businesses. So we started Nurse Cheats last year in June, actually. And we didn't really commit to it, but we started it. And I was like, I have this idea, and I kind of bugged everybody for a long time at work, and nobody wanted to partner with me. And then finally Brittany was like, hey, I might be interested. What's the idea? And I'm a designer. I have 18 years of experience in design. And I worked for Vimeo and Match and all these places in New York City. These websites are owned by a company called AIAC, and I was a production designer there. And I have the ability to design things really, really quickly. So I was like, I have this idea for this business, and I think it could really work. And then we spent like a year, 3 months, we kind of ignored it. We were like not even doing anything with it. I think in the back of my mind, I was just kind of thinking through the process and what I wanted it to be like. And then we spent, there goes my phone again. I told you it would happen again. We spent like the next 9 months kind of coming up with ideas for our badges. We also like defined our client base because I felt like there was a lot of influencers in the instruction for like NCLEX arena. And I really wanted to help newer nurses because I feel like it's a lot to go into some specialties, especially ICU. But there's a lot to every specialty, right? Like you just become an expert in whatever specialty you are. But there's a lot of tricks that we use. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to put this on a badge buddy. And then we spent like 9 months coming up with our badge buddy and what makes it so good. We did a lot of product development, went through a lot of iterations, and then came up with our product, which we love. They are designed well, they're lightweight, they're easy to read, which is actually a problem. Our sizing was done purposely, as well as the material that we use, and they are purple wipe safe, and you can use them in the hospital, and they also have a lifetime guarantee. So we spent all this time developing our badges, and I had to start creating the badges, and we have about 48 products now, which I think is, just growing and growing. We have started patient education sheets, and we've also started doing guides, documentation guides. We're working on another guide right now, and it's been very, very rewarding. We are working with mentors to develop our business in SCORE. Shout out to SCORE in Chester County. They're amazing. If you have a small business that you're starting, definitely check them out. They help a lot, especially with the financial part. I think that was the least comfortable we were with the businesses regarding the financial part of it and getting our LLC and what was the best business category for us to get, like organization. So we went with LLC. We have 3 partners. Brittany is kind of the financial person, and she handles a lot of that stuff, thankfully, because I can't. It's not that I don't want to, I just can't, right? And then we have Em, who's kind of the face of our company, and she does our social media, and also very smart. She's an ICU nurse. Not that Brittany isn't smart, they're both smart, but Emma's like different. Like she just works so much and she does a lot for her jobs. And so we kind of have it like sparsed out in that way. And it's interesting how we all kind of fell into our roles. And it was hard for Em, I think, coming in because we were already like working together for 6 months when Em joined us in February. So 6 to 8 months. And we spent a lot of time like developing our business, but she's amazing. Like she came on board and it was amazing. It was great. And never have looked back a day since, and so glad that she's our partner and she contributes a lot. And we all do contribute to our business. And I think that's the nice thing for me is that I've had a business before, but never with the right people. And I do honestly feel like I'm in business with the right people. And nurses are great, right? They're highly creative, educated, logical, and a lot of us are A-type personalities, which has caused some growing pains, but not a ton. And we're very grateful for that. We're very grateful for each other, and we do appreciate the job that each of us does in our business, which is growing exponentially. And it's been crazy. So Brittany decided actually that she was going to start this nurse-owned network, and it has grown. I mean, I think that we are up to, let me just check. I'm just going to check to see how many people are on our Facebook group right now. But there are a lot, and we do post there, and people post their businesses, and it's amazing. It's just like this. I'm so floored by the amount of creativity that goes into this group, like that these businesses that these people have. And it's like we have people that do wood carving. We have people that make like lavender. There's a lavender farm. Scott, we're actually going to collaborate with Scott at some point. You know, we have our business. We have people that make pens and do crafts. We have just all kinds of things. We have a woman on there that makes soaps, and I really love her display. And it's just great, like trying to figure out what everybody does. And like, it's amazing to talk to these highly creative people. One that started an RV park, which I thought was a great idea because, hello, we all need to get away, right? Like, so it's a great idea. And nurses supporting nurses is a thing. And we have people that make crafts and use the Cricut. We do have a Cricut too. We use it mostly for packaging materials, like because you can create boxes, and like I've created envelopes for our badge buddies and our marketing materials, and it's really amazing. I love a Cricut. I'm learning how to do vinyl right now, which is insane. I don't like it so far, but I'm going to keep on. We have honey and personal products and jewelry. And anyway, there's 259 members on there. So please, please, please join us and start a discussion and follow other nurses in their businesses because it's a success and we should support each other, right? So, what is it about multi-level marketing? Well, I'm not sure that I totally am behind all of the business ideas I see. But what I am behind is people trying to make their own way in the world. And I think that, for nurses, like it's not about, for me at least, it's not about leaving nursing. It's about enjoying my time off. And I enjoy what I do as a nurse. Like I love being a nurse. And it's crazy. I work in a chaotic environment, but I love it. I love to help people. But I also feel really stressed out sometimes, and creating a badge buddy or creating a product is very fulfilling for me. I create badge reels from rhinestones, and I just love these things, and I think they're so pretty, and I hand make them, and it kind of takes my mind off of the craziness that's going on in my work life. And I wonder if that's not a thing with a lot of people. Like, do people start businesses because they are having to get away from the stress in their real life? I mean, nursing, while it is a call for somebody, I did not get into nursing because it was a calling, right? Rather, I chose nursing for financial reasons and then realized, oh my gosh, I should have done this years ago. I think I actually literally found the job that I was meant to do. And I'm good at it. I love it. I love the people I work with. I love the place I work. And I'm very lucky. But I was also very strategic in that. I wanted to work somewhere good. Money is important. Don't get me wrong. Like, we need money to pay our bills, and nurses should get paid fairly. But what is more important to me is when I'm feeling that my license is safe and that I feel supported. I work at a place that has security. I work at a place that cares about their nurses. And is it perfect? Nope, it's not perfect. We still have issues in our ER. We have issues in our hospital, but I do, from the depths of my soul, even if I don't care for decisions that administration makes, I do from the depths of my soul think that they are trying to make it better. And that's important to me, right? It's important for me to feel like they are trying to improve the situation. It's not always going to be perfect. But if you have an administration that at least cares, you're a step ahead. So it wasn't totally about money for me. And neither is Nurse Cheats. So Nurse Cheats, yes. Do I want it to make money? Of course I do. I have 2 partners. We work really hard at it. I work probably 80 hours a week and just creating products and doing research, and we source all of our stuff. So it is very fulfilling, but also it's a lot of work, and I would like someday to get paid for that work. Right now we're literally paying for our business, and that's okay too. We understood from the get-go that we were going to do this right and not do it fast. And there's a whole saying, you could have it cheap and fast, you could have it cheap and slow, or you could have it like slow and expensive, right? Like, or that thing. I don't know. I can't remember it totally. But that's the thing. So we wanted to do it right. We have both had businesses before. We wanted to start a business that was actually going to make it. We are listening to people that are experts in this. And I have expertise in marketing and design, and that's true, and I do. But I still always listen to people because you never know the marketing idea that's going to fit your business, that's going to take you there. So you have to be open to new inspiration. And it's hard because, like, especially when Brittany and I are in the throes of inspiration and creating, we work closely together all the time. We're going to have growing pains, and we're going to, react to things. And it's important to recognize that you can't do everything. You can't control everything. And you have to do always what's best for the business, right? Like, you have to do what's best for the business. And even at my worst day, I could not look at either of my partners and say they do not want what's best for Nurse Cheats, because I know they do. And that helps me to get through the difficulties and growing pains of getting bigger. And, we're working on our website now. We just paid for a website, and it's a big expense. But it was the next step, because if we don't have a website that works, we're not selling anything, right? So I had to admit and basically look at myself and say, okay, I was a web designer back in the day, 6-7 years ago. I could design websites. I could do coding. I could do all this stuff 6 or 7 years ago. I can't do that anymore. Shopify to me is like a whole freaking thing. It's like this whole different area of life, and I can't do it. So I need to admit that and help my partners and say, you know what? We need to hire somebody, because they're going to understand this platform in ways that I don't understand. So we did that, and we made that decision and decided that was the next best step to take. And we are doing that. We have an attorney who helps us with our business questions, and we have an accountant, and we are doing things the right way. We ask our mentors everything. They're awesome. And I love them, even though I just have a really big problem listening to numbers constantly. I can only take so much numbers a week, but I do. I do listen to it. I do, figure out what each of our products cost and how much our profit is, and just found this great thing on a Cricut group that explained what your profit margin should be. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, so now I have a formula for this stuff, because I do have trouble pricing things, like what's too expensive, but we are confident in our pricing. We are very confident in it. And it's just been this whole thing. So it led me to this question, back to my original point about Nurse Owned Network, about why it is that nurses seek out other businesses and why they want to leave the bedside, right? Because I think nursing is unique in its perspective, that it can help you discern what's important in life. And that's crazy, because we go through hell, and we're kind of working all the time, and we don't really get paid enough to do what we do, but we do it anyway. We go to work and we try to help people. And then you realize at some point during this journey that, is the abuse worth it? Is what you have to put up with, if you had toxic environment on top of that, it's not worth it, right? It's not going to be worth it to somebody experiencing that. You want to leave. You want to cry. I had a coworker once that I absolutely felt bullied, and this person was not a nurse, and I still felt bullied, and I cried all the time. And I just felt like, there has to be something better out there. Not that I wanted to leave nursing, but I definitely wanted to leave where I was at. So I did. I left. And I got the job that I have now. And I love the job that I have now. Is it without its heartaches and challenges? No, it's absolutely not. There's a lot of challenges. But my charge nurses are amazing. My coworkers are incredible. And I feel truly supported 98% of the time. And if you can say that about your job, you're in a pretty good situation, right? So, but it got me to thinking about what nursing does for people. And I do think that it impresses upon you what the important things in life are. And this is what I'm going to say to every new nurse out there, whether you're doing an MLM, whether you're starting a business, whether you're going to stay in nursing, which I hope you are, nursing is not terrible. The job still matters. But what you need to remember is, if you're not happy where you are, there are so many people that will hire you. Be careful where you work. I was very cognizant of what I wanted to work. Had to be magnet status, and I'll explain that in a minute. It had to have a manager that I liked and got along well with. Had to happen. Had to get along with my manager. Had to feel like a great environment and a supportive environment. And had to be paid correctly, okay? Because I'm not going to settle for like $26 an hour. I don't even understand that number. But I can make more than that in my own business, Sarah Design. So why would I choose to do nursing over that? Anyway, so there's a lot of things that went into my decision. Magnet status, they are dependent on nursing care. They research things. They make sure that they're doing the best practices, which in turn helps your care. That also usually means they're pretty well staffed. Not always. I have worked somewhere where this was an exception. However, they try. And I had to get along with my manager. Every job I've gotten, my manager has quit. Like, one of them quit the day I started. The other one quit after a year, and I kind of left at that point too. But at least she stayed for a year. And then now the manager I have, he left when I was there for like 4 months. And we got a new manager. But I love my charge nurses, and my charge nurses have been there since the beginning. And shout out to Laura and Lindsay and Mike, because they're awesome. And they've taught me so much. I mean, in a year and a half, it blows my mind where I've gone, where I've come from to where I am now, and doing trauma and doing ultrasound lines and all these other things. And I truly feel like I found a place to work that cares. And they care. And that makes me care. Right? The fact that my charge nurses care about what happens to our patients, and that we have nurses that care what happened to our patients, is so, so important to me. And I've read horror stories, right? Like, you read them. So choose your employment carefully. I know when you get out of school, it feels like you have to take the first job you get, right? Because you want to work, and that's important. But here's what I'm going to say to you. Don't take the first job you get. Take the first job you get that meets the criteria, the minimum criteria you need, right? Like, I needed magnet, I needed a manager I liked, and I needed a supportive environment. It didn't turn out that way, but I took it based on that criteria, and I was confident in my decision, okay? So make your decision based on criteria that you set ahead of time. You want this pay rate. You want this kind of environment. You want days. You want nights. You want ICU. You want ER. You don't have to work at med-surg anymore. I hated med-surg. No offense to all the med-surg nurses out there, but if I had to be a floor nurse for the rest of my life, I would have quit nursing. I just did not have that personality. I did not feel like it was right for me. And, I went from there. But choose carefully. Don't choose desperately, because where you work is everything. It is everything. and you need to be happy. You cannot work in nursing and be happy if you hate your job, right? Be the nurse you want to be. At least give yourself the best opportunity to be a good nurse, right? Choose the place wisely. Be the kind of nurse you want to be, whether it's ER, ICU, med surg. I know floor nurses that love it, honestly, and they wouldn't trade it for the world. So do what you want to do, right? The days of having to work in med surg for 2 years are over. People rarely keep their jobs for 2 years unless they work for an amazing healthcare system, which I do. But, that remains to be seen. But, get what you want to get out of nursing, because there's no way you're going to survive out there if you're not at least starting with your minimum requirements. So that's my advice. And the reason that I think people go into MLMs and they start their own businesses after being a nurse for a while is because they're not choosing what they want to do. And the great thing about nursing is if you get burned out, if you get tired, you can change your job. You can do something else in nursing. You will always have a job in whatever it is that you want to go into, with the possible exception of NICU. Okay, it is really hard to get into that, and you have to have so many years of experience, and you have to have specialty, diplomas. I don't know, but I've heard it's hard to get into NICU, but it's not impossible. I see nurses that have done it out of school. So do what you want to do, because that is going to make you happier. It's going to make you stay in healthcare longer, and it's going to make healthcare a more stable place. Anyway, I digress. But it is really super important that you make decisions that are good for you. And it is a difficult thing because nursing school, had I known, I was so offended in nursing school. I remember being in a unit in clinicals and being so offended at how some of the nurses acted. I had no idea what I was talking about. Dude, it is so hard, literally. And I'm not excusing nurses that are rude to students. I actually tell all my patients, you should want a new nurse because they know everything by the book. And they will annoy the doctors to death until they fix it. So I always tell my patients that. I'm like, you should want a new nurse. You really should. But that's no excuse for toxic behavior, and that's not what I'm saying. But do understand that the reality of nursing school is way, way, way different than real life. And just be prepared for that transition, because you're going to find yourself looking back going, oh my gosh, if I only would have known, maybe I wouldn't have judged that person so hard. Or maybe, and it was better then. When I started 3 years ago, it was better than it is now. And we were in the midst of COVID. So understand that there's a lot going on that you don't know about. And once you do, you will forever change your perspective on what it's like to be in healthcare. And that's okay. It's okay to make misjudgments and not totally get why it's such a big deal and why these things, because I never understood what I was getting myself into. If I had to do it all over again, would I actually go into nursing? I probably would have. I love being a nurse, but not everybody is like that, right? I know people that hate their job. I don't understand why they stay in it, but I know people that do, and they come to work every day. They still try to save people. And that's the thing about nursing too. Whether you like it or not, you still do your job, because if you don't, people die, right? So even if they don't like their job, they still do their job. And I would recommend you find something you do like, but just change your career field. Go into peds, or go into being an office nurse, or do whatever you have to do to make yourself happy. Because at the end of the day, that is what matters most, is if you're happy. This is not a dysfunctional family. You do not have to sacrifice your happiness for the healthcare profession. But you do have to do your job. So find a job you like. And that's my diatribe for today. And I know it was a lot, but I wanted to talk about it because the exiting of healthcare right now is incredibly high. I know a lot of people that are leaving healthcare. And, I just wanted to address it and kind of talk about where this is coming from and why people are doing it. And, you don't have to leave nursing if you don't like being a hospital nurse. You can still be the kind of nurse you want. You just got to find the right place for you. That is the key to being a happy nurse. Maybe you're a psych nurse at heart. You just don't know it. I never thought that I would love trauma. In fact, when I started in the ER, it's like, I don't want to do trauma. I'm not doing trauma. Now I love trauma. So, give yourself a break and don't nail yourself into, I am going to be this nurse, because you may get in it and decide you hate it. So that's all I'm going to say. And that's it for our show, because it is already an hour. Isn't that crazy? And we're going to be back next week. I think Brittany is setting up a recording day. We'll be back next week and we'll talk more. I think we're going to try to do news. We'll do a review. We'll do a topic. And I think that's how we're going to start. We're going to slowly evolve the show. So stick with us while we go through that process. And yeah, I'll be back next week. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I'm out of here. Bye.